Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and much appreciate you guys checking today's video out. Today we're going to be talking about the characteristics of a bad or a nightmare co-angler. If you guys saw the video I did last month, I did one on what makes a great co-angler. I used the example of Jeff Moss, the co-angler I drew at Table Rock at the BFL tournament, as somebody that was just a exemplary, outstanding co-angler in every way, shape, or form. And today I'm going to sort of tell you what makes a terrible co-angler out there. So maybe if everybody can learn something from that and not be a terrible co-angler. So we'll get into that here. First of all, we'll sort of go down just a random list right here. The first thing I want to talk about is being overly aggressive. This is probably one of the most worst qualities that a co-angler can have that really will frustrate your pro partner, and it will make for a bad day. It'll make for a bad day for the co-angler. It'll make for a bad day for the pro. There's nothing good about that. So when I talk about aggressive co-angler, I'm talking about guys that try to cast up in front of the boat, or they try to cast up past the midway part of the boat, and they're always trying to get close to where their pro partner is fishing at. Say, for example, if their pro flips a jig into a lay down tree, they try to flip 2 or 3 feet away from it as soon as his bait gets in there. Or if a pro is casting out there and his crankbait's halfway back to the boat, the co-angler will cast the exact same spot the pro did and start bringing the bait back through the same area. So a overly aggressive co-angler is a sign of a bad, terrible, nightmare co-angler. Second thing we'll talk about is co-anglers that talk too much. One of the worst things that a co-angler can do is just run their mouth all day long. Tournament fishing is not a time for socializing. It's not a social event. Talking should be, basically kept to a minimum, utilitarian conversation, sort of let maybe the pro, judge that a little bit more, guide from that, because, one of the things that a talkative co-angler does is they distract their pro partners from being able to focus on what they're doing. So that's definitely not a good thing. Next thing is the co-angler who thinks they know everything, and the co-angler that thinks they know more than their pro does. I've had this come up quite a bit. I just stopped. Well, I just got this noodle back there. Hey, put the noodle down or I'm gonna take it away from you, okay? So you get a co-angler out there that thinks they know more than the pro does. So if you're a co-angler like that, if you're a co-angler, you don't have any say whatsoever on how the day goes down. You're there to, fish in the back of the boat and go wherever the pro does and fish wherever he wants to. A pro does not need the co-angler chirping in and telling the pro that this is probably not the way you need to be fishing and suggesting other things out there. You're undermining the game plan of the pro. If he makes a bad decision, if the pro makes a bad decision, let him fall on his butt. Co-anglers do not need to try to influence that. Again, it's just another distraction out there. So if you're a co-angler and you don't think your pro's doing the right thing, just keep those thoughts to yourself. You don't need to vocalize that, because there's no place for that whatsoever. Next one out there are co-anglers that arrive late in the morning. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, guys, but it's a huge deal, because what happens is a pro or boater has got a lot on their mind. They got the day ahead of them. They've worked hard to get to this point, and the last thing that they need is having to wait for their co-angler that's running behind in the morning where they're rushing around. If you're a co-angler, make sure you get there 30 minutes before your pro says they want to meet you. If your pro says we need to meet here at 5 o'clock, be there at 4:30. Don't be a distraction to your pro when it comes to that, way like that. I've had several situations, guys, where I've had pros literally show up when they were calling my number out, almost like I was. And what happens if they don't show up? The pro's delayed. You'll have to wait around until they can get an observer, and it's just a big hassle with that. Next thing out there is co-anglers that bring too much stuff. Guys, if you're a co-angler, you don't need that much stuff. Bring one small box, bring 3 or 4, at the most 5 rods. You don't need to be bringing a ton of rods and a bunch of tackle boxes up there, cluttering the boat up. I mean, it just gets in the way, makes for less efficiency, everything along the lines there. What, are you trying to get in this video here? So anyway, guys, that's just a few overviews with it. If I would say one thing about what makes the worst co-angler the worst possible co-angler, it's an overly aggressive co-angler. Overly aggressive co-anglers have no place in the co-angler side. If you're that aggressive and you're that competitive, you need to be fishing on the boater side. You don't need to be in the co-angler side. A co-angler experience should be looked at as a learning experience. If you go to a tournament as a co-angler just expecting to compete, and that's your main focus, is you're just wanting to catch as many fish as you can and finish as high as you can in the tournament, you're in it for the wrong reason. If you go there and you try to be an information sponge and you try to absorb as much as you can from your boater partner, you're going to come away with it super happy, super satisfied. Your pro's going to bend over backwards to help you out. But if you're one of those co-anglers that I just talked about that has one of those qualities, you're going to put up a barrier between yourself and your pro for that day on the water, and it's not going to be good for anyone. So anyway, just a few things out there. I thought I'd pass that along, and we'll talk later. See you guys.